What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. Welcome back to Korn's discography, as today I'm going to be reviewing the band's 5th studio album for this album review, entitled Untouchables. This album was released on June 11th in the year of 2002, making this the band's first album to be released in the 2000s, and it is the follow-up album to their 1999 album, Issues. When I reflected and looked back at my review on their 4th album, I described it at the time as the recovery album through the aftermath of their hardcore partying and with the amount of alcohol and drugs that were taken and with some of the moments of grown tensions. Throughout the making of this album, Jonathan was the only bandmate that remained sober. And unfortunately, once again, Untouchables became another pretty difficult time in the process, and also this became the most expensive album they've ever made. The album became a lot of hard work for the band behind the scenes. Through previous months, the band had to spend a lot of their money. The band's bass player, Fieldy, said this: "We moved to Phoenix and rented 5 houses for $10,000 apiece for 4 months. We came to LA, rented 5 more houses for 10 grand apiece for 4 more months. We went to Canada and rented a house for 8 grand. That's a week, not a month. Located themselves to Arizona to spend a lot of their time inside these houses to write and develop material for this album." Jonathan Davis decided to share his own experience. "The whole album probably cost us around $700,000. The rest of the money that went out was to our crew and paying our bills, because we were off the road for so long. We don't want our crew to go off and get other jobs, so they can't come back to us. So we had to pay high salaries for 2 years almost, which is a lot of money. That's why they say it cost $4 million. But it was just keeping our people on retainers, and we can put that on the record budget." On the 20th anniversary, Brian Head Welch, one of the band's guitarists, remembers his experience by saying that it's not his favourite Korn album. He liked the album a lot, but he also said that it was a challenging album. He said, "I attempted sobriety that record, and we actually went to Arizona and got all these mansions and started recording and writing in these houses, and most of them were party houses, and I'm trying to get sober, and we spent so much money on that record, but it came out good and we got some great memories." Jonathan too also shares his own thoughts. "It's a very important record, one that couldn't be made in this day and age. I call it the heavy metal Asia because of the production and sound quality. People use it to tune their speakers to this day. It's our dark side of the moon. I love it." Michael Bainhorn, the album's producer, persisted and pushed Korn to the biggest amount of boundaries to work as hard as ever. Jonathan also went into these experiences of having a vocal coach because he was going through his own recordings to do his vocals that took him the longest amount of time to do his parts for the album. He said in an interview with Noisy, "We were coming off of Issues and we wanted to make an amazing record. That's when we hooked up with Michael Bainhorn. And Bainhorn's whole vision was to make an amazing sounding rock record that could never be made again. I wanted to shoot a documentary about that record. We spent so much money. The drums alone, we spent a whole month just getting drum sounds. There were 50 mics just on the drum set that they picked out and tested. Usually I do my vocals and it takes me a month or 2 weeks, but just vocals, it took me 5, almost 6 months. With Bainhorn, sometimes I'd walk in and sing and he'd just say, "Go home, your voice ain't right." It was the peak and pinnacle of everything in Korn. I still can't believe how much work went in on it. It was a lot. The album opens with the first single, Here to Stay. Remember when you hear the track Dirty from Issues, there's the endless amount of static noise that continues on and on until it slowly fades out. I think this was planned. I've mentioned it at the end of my Issues review, but I thought I'd bring this up because if you look at the music video of Here to Stay, you watch the kid turning on the TV through different channels and you see Korn performing with a lot of the static all over the screen. Here to Stay opens by hearing fuzzy guitar of the main riff, then the band explodes into rage with their strongly effective hook, and it remains as one of their best songs through their songwriting and the overall tone. The verses to the chorus grew massive strengths of its heavy sound, menacing guitars, and loud, destructive drums. John's vocal delivers the whole song consistently with tension, and it is gripping. The song's lyrics express his experience of repeating his change of feelings into hate without any way to stop it, having violent thoughts of his problems with himself, and his mind was under a lot of pressure. He was trying not to be building the hurt that would have ended up leaving him to commit self-harm. In the bridge section, he says he wants to bring it down, meaning that from what he says in the chorus, he's feeling the same way, as well as with the anger. He says there's something inside him is awakening, so he does want to have the strength of having goodness, the mood of happiness he has been trying to get back, and doesn't want to keep having the same repetitive, broken, weak, empty state of himself. Here to Stay is a perfect song that opens Untouchables with its massively loud bang. Make Believe. This opens in an electronic feel from the rhythm with ghostly guitars. Its overall change of sound was engaging to hear multi-tracked vocals to make the whole song eerie. It's a slow-paced song, but it greatly delivers the instrumentation very well. I actually love the overall direction it was going for. It's definitely an underrated song. Going through the lyrics around people who supported the band as well as Jonathan through their career, as John used the Korn songs as his way of battling through the pain, as they were written during a lot of his emotional struggles. Besides, a lot of his lyrics detail on dark subject matters and highly personal yet traumatic times. He still feels the same within these same struggles and thoughts, and it feels it's chasing him. He takes himself to a place during his negative mindset and letting his frustrations out. Blame. Korn opened the song with great chemistry. David Silvera's drumming is a highlight, as well as with Fieldy's bass lines. It's another punishing song with terrific, catchy performances. John's vocals were excellent, and I love the overall mix from the aggressive sound, and as well as with the change of volumes for the band's experimentation that makes me think of Issues, believe it or not. It's one of my favourites on the album. The lyrics are this time reflective about what Jonathan went into from his past with someone else, and it was written based on an actual person which remained anonymously. to personally reference this person. A lot of experiences of holding on to positives and negatives John addressed, and he feels ugly inside. He wants to stop feeling negative, thinking this person would feel lonely if he leaves, but feels the fear of being away from John's life. Like John, this person went through similar stuff and looked after him, but it went too far and puts John down mentally. In the end, throughout this time, the person was there to seek attention and resulted in an abusive, using mindset. He was enraged by what this person had done to him. John gets away and opens up his reaction with the lyrics and blames this person that it is his fault. Hollow life. High notes and synth style beats in like a Depeche Mode type of music of inspiration. I don't really know if Depeche Mode was an inspiration for the band, but it sounds like that classic band to me. John's vocals were brilliant, as the variation of the chord placements were as well. It does feel unique because it was adding more of the band's adventurous direction. I would consider this song to be as an interesting song as it is intriguing as well. The lyrics detail what it's like to be an outcast and a victim, according to John. Went into deeper holes while being in absolute rock bottom. John wanted to escape from the addictions, like what he and the band went through from the past. There is a religious reference later on. It addresses the desperation of wanting signs to help them live and seek spirituality through religion, but also thinking if God would be there to guide them, bottled up inside. This song is instantly ferocious. John's vocals were full of heavy agony, and it's such a raw tone of his voice. It's one of those songs that instantly strikes in front of you. It's in your face with no breaks. The lyrics are simply direct from the difficult surroundings in John's time, being around with negative people, and he couldn't tell them how he felt. His feelings are instant and right there at these people, and he tells the listener how hurtful they were to him. His anger grew and grew and stayed there, bottled up inside. To me, is another amazing Korn track. The next single, Thoughtless. It is a masterpiece. Personally, my favourite song on this whole album. Uneasy and haunting from the tones and its thrilling execution. The guitars have their separate parts to create the whole instrumentation, and you hear the riffs in different notes in the background as well. The chorus is as memorable and just incredible from the overall performance. It's one of the classic Korn tracks throughout the entire career. A set of lyrics of looking back from the past and shares feelings towards a different person who affected John, questioning to the person why they think bullying him is funny and why it's done to him. John was also wondering about the person's mental health, why they would bully him in the first place. The later words carry a lot of the weight by wanting the bully to feel what Jonathan felt, and his friends were no longer with him because of the mistreatment, not thinking about how much it can affect somebody that would traumatize anybody, that would lead into serious actions and choices, which is powerfully relevant from then to this very day and age. I do adore Thoughtless, one of the best Korn songs of all time. Hating. This track has an awesome beginning. It's another slow pacer. The drums from David were great. I admired the whole duration of hearing the change of atmosphere that remained so consistently. The balance of building the progression of the band's explored sounds and completes it with doomy tones, full of mix of these growling guitars and John's variation. Vulnerability and emotional turmoil from John's thoughts are painted all through the lyrics, and he wants to find a sense of hope while his life had been a brutal one to cope with for many years. Being so overwhelmed by a lot of this whole repetition of mood, and he questions if there's something wrong with him. He suffered so much. He doesn't understand why it went down like this, and obviously John didn't deserve it. Hating is, to me, terrific, and one of the other classic songs on this album. One More Time, one of the other mid-tempo, quite energetic songs. The riffs are layered as you hear their separate effects. It has a different feel to it than just full-on aggression, and yet it is not as experimental either. The chords sound as really big. Got another great hook through these sections of the verse and the chorus. David's drumming shines a lot on this song, and to me that's the best part about it. The lyrics continue around the depression subject matter in John's mood, as well as that feeling of believing in any hope. The thought of things that are bad and you wouldn't have a way to get away from it. The more you would try to fight it, it'll bring you down. The past has been affecting his life from then to this very day. No matter there are some good things around in the world, the bad memories would come back in his mind again out of the blue. The last single, Alone I Break, it's a standout single, just like with the other two of Here to Stay and Thoughtless. Its simplicity with mostly like a trip-hop style over the top of most of this song. Again, it's unique and atmospheric. John's vocals continue that despair, and the flow of the song completes itself with a lot of melody this time. It has a less is more approach. The lyrics feel this desperation of wanting to end John's life, to stop all of the pain and torments. The whole imagery of wanting to get away from all of what he went through, and his dark thoughts grew deeper. After the difficulty the band experienced through their tensions with each other, John's depression deepened. He wonders of what it would be like to keep fighting to overcome through all of it. So it is as a brutally vulnerable song as it really gets. Embrace. This fat gained distortion has returned, and Embrace is as frenetic. It's the heaviest song on this album. The growls and the distortion sounded just crazy. There is no way to escape from this amount of chaos. It's unstoppable and insanely addictive. I couldn't believe that I fell in love with the song more and more. The lyrics open up around the stress and turmoil of hate that's being contained and stayed inside. The pressure and continuation of feeling that way is endless. While they've been moving forward, that same amount of hate is still there. Beat It Upright. This opens things on a string-bending guitar riff, in like a breakdown as the main riff, manic rhythmic playing style from the rest of the band. The track is interesting and I do enjoy the bouncy energy, but I find lyrically as one of my least favourite moments. The change of lyrics go into this sexualizing, provocative nature. The entirety of the song felt just so suggestive through that mindset. I do like the instrumentation, but the overall lyrics just sounded pretty subpar, no matter how many times they've went into a lot of that mindset into having some blowjobs and sexual activity. Wake Up Hate. The whole song opens in the electronic and metal mixture in like this industrial take. I like the adrenaline so much. It's mad, over the top, and fun. Just as underrated. Lyrically, it's mainly the repetitive continuation of the title of the song, but the basic idea was the feeling of hate that's been constantly going on and no longer hurts Jonathan and hurts the pain. John wants to feel that emotion, to grow and use it as a coping mechanism, besides not feeling any difference of sharing love at all. The self-hatred is stuck inside and it doesn't want to be out. The second to last track, I'm Hiding. This beat feels intense by hearing Phil D's bass, and the guitars sound so effective in the simplicity, and it's haunting as well as with the band to sound as pretty impending. The lyrics are showing that emptiness emotion, feeling self-doubt from his state of mind. This vulnerability has been extremely high. The last track, No One's There. The slowest and unsettling song as a finale. The choice of playing in the main harmonic part is uncomfortable sounding, and you hear these screaming noises from the other background guitar tones, but it does fit. The vocals were gentle and focused to express themselves. Then it does get melodic on the chorus because the suspense was rising so dark, but it's full of emotion and power, and it stands right out to me as one of my most favourite finale Korn songs. I feel the lyrics, in my opinion, are based in this mindset of isolation. We see different kinds of people and we interact with these people, but in the end we wouldn't remember them. And it's the same with the other people, that they would feel the same way when they see us, but we wouldn't be remembered. Some of the later words describe how other people wouldn't think and decide to do things that affect John. These people would decide to take advantage of him. No one would understand him. Finding a comfort to himself would be something that he would have wanted. A well-written, crafted track that continues that exploration through the band's overall sound of how far they've become. I've addressed that previously from Issues, but with a song like this, No One's There is outstanding. It's another well-made finale closing track that ends the album as greatly. To me, alongside with the debut and Issues, this is one of the top tier, best produced albums that Korn and Michael involved had created. Untouchables by Korn is one of my most favourites in the whole discography. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Is this one of your most favourite Korn albums? Do you cite it as a classic? I'm really interested. From all of the difficulty that the band and the whole of their entourage went through, they have achieved their darkest album, but they have successfully made some of their biggest, strongest and brilliant albums in their discography. I'm going to give Untouchables by Korn a very high and enthusiastic 9 out of 10. Besides some of the flaws, I wouldn't go so far to call it as a classic like I did with Issues. I still prefer Issues, but Untouchables would still be as highly ranked for me in my overall ranking of Korn's discography. That's as high like when I ranked Follow the Leader at a mostly very high level. Thank you guys for watching, and I will keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.